You can look at a couple of the front runners, one being Newt Gingrich, another being Mitt Romney, and when you look at the difference in the candidates, clearly, if you look at, for instance, Newt Gingrich has been a part of Washington, D.C. for over 3 decades. It's really not plausible that someone who's been in the midst of Washington, D.C. For 3 decades, who has been all over the map on his political positions, and also who this year alone has taken in over $100 million for the purpose of influence peddling in Washington, D.C. His offices are located on the Rodeo Drive of Washington, D.C., which is K Street. And that influence peddling is not consistent with trying to portray yourself as an outsider. His positions have been, he's the original author of the Obamacare backbone, which is the individual health care mandate. He's been for the $700 billion Wall Street bailout. He was for going into Libya. He was for the global warming initiative with Nancy Pelosi. And most recently, he also, in the last debate, was for making legal 11 million illegal workers in the United States. He said he was prepared to take the heat, and now he's backing off of that. But if you look at Mitt Romney, he has the same problem. He's been very inconsistent on his positions. He's been on both sides of the abortion issue, on both sides of the issue with same-sex marriage. He, in fact, signed 189 marriage licenses for same-sex couples in the state of Massachusetts when he was governor. He was for the TARP bill, the $700 billion bailout, and the global warming initiatives. So when you look at the issues and you peel back where the candidates have been and also what they've stood for, there is no other candidate that is more consistent than I am. My position is here just to bring clarity. It's not to be negative, it's to bring clarity, and I think that's what the voters are looking for. They want to know what's the truth. They're not interested in the chameleon. They're interested in who is the true, consistent, core conservative, and I've demonstrated that through my 55 years. 50 years as a real person in the real world, and 5 years working in the lion's den fighting against the out-of-control spending in Washington and the out-of-control growth of federal regulation. I didn't have an organization on K Street where I took in over $100 million for the purpose of influence peddling. That's as establishment as you can possibly get. You can't claim outsider credentials if that's your bio.
Congresswoman, if I may, could you respond to Newt Gingrich's comments? I think he said them yesterday. He was upset with your comments about his immigration stance. And he said you were factually challenged. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that a professor doesn't like to be challenged, but I think that his real challenge is a memory challenge, because he signed a letter that was published in the Wall Street Journal that said that he supports making legal 11 million workers who are currently illegal. And he said he was prepared to take the heat for that just this last week. That's something that he stood for. He signed his name to that letter, and it was published in the Wall Street Journal. That is President Bush's comprehensive immigration reform plan. And he came out in favor of that, and most people commonly call that plan amnesty. That's why, from a national immigration organization, they have given Speaker Gingrich the lowest grade when it comes to dealing with the immigration issue. I was given the highest grade when it comes to the immigration issue.
Congresswoman, you've talked about immigration, and that's obviously a hot topic here in South Florida, constantly, immigration. Can you talk to us about deporting 11 million illegal immigrants? Is that what your stance would be if you did become the president of this country?
As President of the United States, I have said that I would build a fence on our southern border by a date certain, and that would be within the first year in office. I would make sure that our border security guards are fully resourced and are also defending that border. I've also said that I will uphold the laws of the land and the laws that are on the books. They're very good laws, and they deal with deportation. The problem has been a failure to enforce those laws. And I think when people are interdicted or intercepted and they're here illegally, they need to come within the confines of the law. And if that means deportation, we need to have deportation. The reason why this is so important is because this costs the American economy $113 billion a year in outlays. That works out to about $1,000 per household here in South Florida. It's very expensive. The other thing that I will do is make English the official language of the United States federal government. And I also said that we need to end the practice of anchor babies in the United States, which is conferring immediate American citizenship status on the babies of people who come into the United States illegally for the purpose of having babies.